annexed into the city of Cleveland, Ohio, for corporate municipal purposes only. We filed this petition pursuant to RC 709.24 at SEQ, and we request that the City Council of the City of East Cleveland take all necessary steps pursuant to law. This includes, but is not limited to, the passing an ordinance declaring its intention to enter into negotiations with the City of Cleveland within 30 days of receiving this petition, submitting a certified copy of said ordinance to the City Council of the City of Cleveland, appointing 3 commissioners to represent the City of East Cleveland in negotiations, submitting the question of annexation to a vote of the electors at the next regular or primary election within 30 days of receiving the conditions of annexation from the commissioners, and all other steps required by law. We hereby designate the following petitioners as a committee to be regarded as filing this petition or its circulation. And it listed the individuals that I stated earlier. There has also been individuals to actually sign it. And you have the full democratic process within your hand. You can so choose to sign if you want to. But my position as your councilman and as one of your city leaders, I don't support it. I do believe that we have the option of exploring what it is we should do as a city, and I'm not the type of person, and this is personal, I'm not the type of person that's willing to lay down and not seek all options and not fight for a community that's been in existence for a long time.
And that's incorrect as far as what we were told in that meeting. In the meeting, we were told that petition was for a study. That doesn't say anything about a study.
That's right.
That says we just gonna annex and I don't
want to at this point become, controversial, but I thank you for bringing it up because I did not attend the meeting. I think Councilman King, and if I can acknowledge Councilman King and also Councilman Thomas Wheeler in attendance tonight as well, and our ward leader Ellen Bowman. Want to just briefly touch on it. I was not at the meeting, and from what I'm told, in knowing the individual as well, I know that the language disclosed at that meeting is not the same language here.
Right.
The language at the meeting was in a reference of a study, and this is stating annexation, which is the process. So a merger and an annexation, they kind of fall between different lines. Okay, annexation means that you can maintain the area and its significance, like Glenville, Ohio City. Those are once areas that had their own independency and own autonomy. So, East Cleveland will be the East Cleveland district. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But it will still be falling under the city of Cleveland and its municipal corporation. Excuse me. So in an attempt, and excuse how this comes off, in an attempt to almost blindside it or mislead the residents. This is why I encourage residents to read. And when you don't read and you take things for surface value, therein lies an attempt to manipulate and persuade and get you to sign without knowing what it is you just signed. Yes, ma'am. It's not, but I'll take it while it's on your mind.
Okay, my name is Benita Shepherd, 16025 Penn Road. They say a commission, but who's going to appoint the commission? And is it going to be residents who own property here in the city, not somebody who's, getting paid to deliver East Cleveland to Cleveland? We're just a number to them. That's all it is. We are numbers.
It does state that the commission has to be appointed by the city council.
Okay, well,
but
I hope that not say that it has to be residents.
The city councilors can appoint themselves.
That's right.
It didn't say that we cannot.
That's right.
Right. But
Ourselves.
this is the thing. You know what? We need residents, that own properties, that have been in East Cleveland a while, that know the workings of the city, to be on the commission. Not somebody just because they're your friend and gonna do it your way. And that's what has been happening. You know, everything that's appointed or done is because I'm your friend and I'm gonna do your bidding. But you don't own my house. You know what I mean? So, counselors that are sitting here, citizens of East Cleveland, we want to be involved because it's our houses too. Not somebody that's, you know, coming in here.
From another city.
You're right. Because we already know people are getting paid to deliver our city.
Right.
They're getting paid and offered things. If I wanted to live in Cleveland, that's where I would have bought my house.
Right.
I moved out of Cleveland Heights to move back into East Cleveland because this is where my family was from, East Cleveland. So, and that was, what, 38 years ago that I moved on land. So I'm saying, we that have a vested interest in this city, that have been here a long time, our families have been here, we've raised our kids, we want to be on the commission, or nobody coming from the outside saying what we should do, because nobody can tell me what I need to do. I already know what I need to do for myself.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ella Bowman. I think some of them know me. I work behind the scenes here. Homeowner for 46 years, a ward leader. I was on your school financial supervision when they thought the schools were going to be really bad. We brought them out of deficit. They were in $7 million. We got rid of people that was misappropriating money and funds, from the treasurer all the way up to certain people that was involved. What I want to say today is my president's not here, which is Mr. Gerald Severa, and myself, Ella Bowman, and Mrs. Uring, which passed here recently. We're the outside committee on finance for East Cleveland. We check the council, whatever budget they're passing, we get a copy of that. We submit negative or positive towards that. I'm the one that wrote Mr. Yaus to come in on physical emergency for East Cleveland. Now, the rumor has been out here, which we don't have a paper for East Cleveland, that East Cleveland has no money. That's a lie.
Okay, now.
We don't have enough money, all right? And we're not bankrupt. Bankrupt means nothing is coming in, all right? I can be doing other things, but this city is important to me. I'm old school. I will fight to the end. Now, I can't prove things right now, but we don't want to give away our city. I fought for the library, 75 people. Now, the city wants that. Now, you don't know if this merge happens to be part of this where they can take over. They can't take the schools because I was raising hell on that. So what they're going to do is keep the schools separate because that's separate identity money that's not with the city. Now, we get 13 million. We used to get 30 million. We lost citizens. We know that. The state did this for us in August. We know what a merger is. And then why should we vote for a commission when you can organize it? I've been on commission boards here when it's necessary for the city. So why would you want to put certain people out of Cleveland that don't live here? It's just like I'm taking you and you run my house and you don't know nothing about it. So the thing is, you have intelligent people here. They know right from wrong. And then another thing we want to say, the clinic is coming through and they're going to build about 40 homes here. That's money for East Cleveland. If they pass this thing or merger, that means money goes to them. Now, I can't prove it right now, but somebody's looking at it. We know it's a bad deal. You know what I mean? What's done in the dark comes to light. But I want our people to know, because if they perish without knowledge, you know what I mean? And we need to come together. And that's how we made it. So like I say, I got the figures, the balancing of the East Cleveland budget, what we have, but we're not broke.
Okay, great.
We got to learn how to come from a neck bone to a T-bone. All right? That's all I have to say. And I'm going to respect Mr. Mansell. He told the truth. The annex is not for us, a merger. What other things do you have? Can you write grants for us? People sitting on city council, can they write grants?
No.
What is the mayor doing? Is he going out looking for opportunity? It's no accountability here, and nobody don't want to invest unless you have accountability at the top. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. So, my name is Harold Williams. I'm living in East Cleveland for 40 years. My house and all my children pass through the East Cleveland school. So I'm here trying to look at what kind of changes that we can really make and what have been done already, which I can report, as you can feel the feeling of the people that nothing much has been done in East Cleveland. And we invest in leadership that was supposed to take us through. They haven't come forward. There's no accountability, as you say, and with a lot of these other contracts that have been made, you know, there's no provision for East Cleveland students or East Cleveland people to be part of the employment. So if you're going to complain about, you know, how much taxes is being paid, well, get the training started. They have lots of money there that they were supposed to be for training of young men and young women. We don't hear anything about those things. They are hidden. And I wanted to say we all share the desire, you know, to ensure that East Cleveland provide for us an effective accountability plan. As you were saying that you worked on the accountability plan, but we haven't seen anything. I mean, why would you have a city that's not in the red yet, but still the mayor is trying to sell us out down the river? You see, this is not what we need. We need independence, we need self-determination, and believe me, our power may not be in money, but when we get together to work, I know we can remove mountains. You know, so, you know, as an educator, you know, and I'm an educator at doctorate level, and so that has to change. Also, the way we teach our kids is completely different from how we know it. You know, and so we have to have people there also that is going to take charge of this moral development. Moral development, that's what we have to do, a moral education, so that our kids can hold on to the God that is in them, at the same time trying to find out the direction they have to go. All right? Thanks very much, Harold Williams.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Senator.
Mr. Mansell, for giving me.
I have a question. If Cleveland if we become a part of Cleveland, and they're telling us that the school system is not gonna be in it, they're gonna leave the school system separate. When something happens in the schools, what police department you gonna call?
You have to call the municipal corporation.
Call who?
The municipal corporation.
And what municipality would that be?
It will be the Cleveland.
That's just like when they annexed Retinol. They took the school out because they made it all Cleveland. So it'll be Cleveland School.
Cleveland's EMS responds to
That-
the only
Yeah, so it's still
only
Cleveland.
public safety division that does not respond is the police, because they still have the police department. But Cleveland EMS and Cleveland Fire do respond to Bracknell as their
Yeah.
municipal.
We don't want
And-
Well, see,
and I don't-
well, they couldn't come, excuse me, because I was on the finance for
Yeah,
the school.
so
They
to-
couldn't touch the school money, because they get
Right.
School money
Because
comes
it
from
comes
taxes.
from-
taxes, right, it's a separate identity from the city.
So
So that's
to-
why they had to annex.
So
it.
to answer your question more thoroughly, the school district would take some time to be phased out. You just can't dissolve it right away.
Right. If they don't take it,
However,
they don't take it back.
if, you know, giving some history to you guys about the city of Cleveland. The city of Cleveland has always been a dominant power to removing certain structures that have been in existence since
Yeah,
the
Mike
dawn
White
of
did
time.
that.
So, if you guys look back through the time in history, Cleveland had an elected school board.
Mike
When
White
they
did.
got tired of having that elected school board, the powers that be over there dissolved that school board.
Exactly.
There's no way they're gonna let
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
an IRN number sit in a municipality that does not,
And
you
they
know,
get 30
garner
million.
the money
And they
from it.
get 30 million.
So they won't let East Cleveland stand alone, but like I said, East Cleveland through an annexation process wouldn't be phased out, but they won't let it stand alone, especially when they explore closing either Glenville or Columbia at one point, most recently.
And the library goes.
So we're funded in a school district, general fund. They're funded through property taxes and state funding. All right, and the Title III funding is based on your demographic and population and inconsistencies of your population. If you have a high ratio, special education, all of those things weigh into the district's funding.
Right.
And right now, East Cleveland is well funded.
Yes, it is.
And so you got to think with it in somebody's back, in the back of their mind. Well, if they have a high percentage, they get a different, or a certain amount of money for these population of kids.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, IEPs. If we have, like, throughout the district, we have, 400 to 500 IEPs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being modest. It's more than that, I think.
Yeah,
Thinking from kindergarten or the age of assessment all the way up to 12th grade, they get a lot of money for those kids. So if I saw that number out there, if I were Eric Gordon, I would say, hey man, maybe that merger thing is not a bad idea. So you can play somebody until they educate themselves. All right. Don't think that everybody can. And excuse me for being more modest about my comments, but you can't play them. And not everyone is a fool. So just wanted to put that out there. The message that they have out there now is that the school will stay intact.
That's a lie.
And it will. I'm telling you guys that that's not a true statement. Based on Cleveland's ambition to dissolve, they have an appointed school board. There is no way on this side of earth that they're going to let another elected school board stay in existence. So I'll end that there. Going on to my comments. My view on the city's survival. What we need to do next is renegotiate our debt. And I was happy to hear some thoughts from a colleague of mine earlier today about how we should go about doing that. And it shows that we're taking a step forward in the right direction. And if we do explore this option that he proposed, it would involve us looking at a different surveyor, an individual that's not influenced by the dominant structure or the structure of government here. Be somebody looking on the outside in that may offer a valid opinion. So what needs to happen right now and what's not happening is that we have not explored all options in debt management. All right? If you fall behind in your bills, again, you want to know how to proceed and how to take care of your bills at some point. You don't let them keep on racking up, accumulating. We're in the sum of some $5 million plus and growing in debt. All right? It only takes us to initiate the conversation with these creditors to either lower our percentage or lower our monthly payment, or put ourselves on a quarterly payment. Our decline is based on the fact that we cannot pay our past creditors. It's not based on where we are right now. And as I was explaining to my colleague earlier, we went from 47 police officers down to a certain number now. I can't disclose that number publicly. You can ask me, outside of camera footage and things like that, and I can disclose that, but for safety purposes, I cannot.
I can tell you.
I don't.
But the city is safe.
Yeah, the city is
The city is
protected.
They need not to say the city ain't safe. Even with the cut, we still got a number of 3 more than we should.
Yeah.
But I want to let this people know that the city is not in security, because I had police calling me that I work in Cleveland, saying y'all ain't got enough police, y'all should just come on. I said, you don't know the story. They cut. I was in the police department to take a survey of how many dispatchers and stuff. We're comfortable with what we have.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Ms. Bowman, thank you for that feedback.
Me and Samara.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Thank you for the feedback. We are still at a staffing level that is conducive to a city of our size. All right, and I did approve part-timers, which do not cost, along with colleagues of mine, we approved part-timers that do not cost the city as much money as a civil service officer would. The part-timers are not afforded benefits, and they have to only work a certain amount of hours. So let's fast forward away from police. Other city services such as having multiple positions throughout the finance department. Those have dwindled down. I think we have about 3 to 4 employees in finance. We're down to 1 employee as opposed to 3 employees when I started with the city in the mayor's office. We're down to 1 employee, which is the director of human resources. The parks department director, his position was dissolved. And so you have just a parks supervisor, which oversees the maintenance of the parks and the recreation facility. And then we have 3 of boxing, basketball, and other AU recreational leaders, which are paid out of community development funding. So they get the public service grant dollars. So those are money that's dollars that come from the federal government to pay their salaries. So there's actually 1 employee in the whole Parks and Recreation Department, and he is still under 30,000. He's still under 30,000 in payment. And then going throughout the other departments, even the mayor's office, my position was cut out of the mayor's office. So it's only the mayor, chief of staff, and Ms. Kyle. Technically, the chief of staff serves as an executive assistant too by law. By our municipal code, he is executive assistant. Chief of staff is an appointed position, a made-up position by mayors to increase the salary. Right now, we're in a size where we don't need a chief of staff, especially if you don't have any directors. Helen S. Brown Center, Kevin Valentine, no longer with the city. Position dissolved. Helen S. Brown Center closed. The picture I'm painting to you guys, service director, Ross Brancatelli, $80,000+, and also city engineer, no longer with the city. The deputy director there, no longer with the city. Service department from 40 members in the 90s down to 27. I think it went down to 27, then it went down to 15, and now it's down to about 8 people. All right, the reality, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm saying here is that the money that it took to manage 200 and something odd employees when we first walked through the door is not the same money as managing right now where we are.
How many employees would you say there are?
Right now, we are total at about, including police and fire, about 120, less than that, 105. We're in that number. And the judge has his staff, but of course the judge has his own autonomy. So he is separate from us, our own whole separate branch of government. The clerk of the council office, we chose not to hire a position in order to cut costs within the city's budget. So our deputy clerk moved up to acting clerk of council, and then the deputy clerk's position we did not fill. Council also, through the council president, yes, we adjusted our special purpose funds. Each councilman is afforded spending on office funds, and we gave that back to get back to the budget in order to turn some revenue over to the city. One of the things that we most recently did was all of the accounts that were I guess in access, they had been just sitting, like there was a fund for AIDS research, and there were some other funds that had been just sitting, and the money is not being used. We turned all of that money over to the general fund just to be diluted and let we close out certain line items that had been delinquent for so long, the money not being used. We turned that money over to the general fund so that it can be the debt can be managed a little bit more efficiently. So the finance director, and by way of the commission, advised that was the appropriate process. So that's already been done. Going forward, like I said, the city has chosen to not drastically continue with the hiring. Now we have the mayor who wants to abide by the city ordinance that we passed, stating that there's a hiring freeze, and if we want to hire somebody, we have to put it into legislation. Right now, we are just exploring if a vacancy happens in police to maintain manpower, vacancies in fire department, just to maintain the manpower there. That's the only reason we're lifting the hiring freeze at this point. Going forward, and I see your hands, and I'll just hold your hand, give questions until I finish at this point. Not only have we adjusted ourselves with the amount of personnel that we have with the city, we've adjusted ourselves with the amount of resources that we're putting out into the community. We're not picking up dumping, and we're not picking up, we're not doing street cleaning. All of those services account for something. That's money. Tree removal and demolition. Everybody thinks that's money that comes directly from the city, but that's federal money that is spent on on an annual basis, and that money is an allocation that's given from the federal government. All right, but if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, that's the only money that's keeping going forward right now, is that demolition is not stopping. And I almost think that there's some type of process out here or motivation out here to clear out the land and keep it clear for those who want a land grab at some point. And that's just me being honest. I mean, I think that's where we are at this point. That's a program that again is not being almost corrupted. Is we got to do everything right here, and then you got everything over here which is failing and falling. You're not managing this day-to-day operations right, but you'll manage this money that's associated with land and property and things like that you can't see who the buyer is. But if it relates to whether or not you create a lawsuit through a grievance in the fire department, you won't protect that, you won't manage that. So those are where I have problems. We need to develop a grants program that there is an active person. I don't know who that person can be. That can be their side role in the city, but there needs to be an active person with the city of East Cleveland that does the same exact action every other city does at this point, and that is stay on top of what the federal government is doing as far as resources that are coming down through grant allocation. We have not petitioned our federal government. We have not went to Washington, D.C. And if I'm in the room with President Obama, my ask to President Obama is that we are an African-American city in the middle of Ohio on the lake. Is there something you can do? I noticed that they did it for what city? They did it for the city of Youngstown. They did it for Youngstown. And so when Youngstown got caught, and I'll say this to you guys,
you don't have to pay your way because you gave up your rights. You gave up your
Gave up the money.
Gave up the money. So you can't even go take a trip unless you come out your pocket.
Yeah,
You should have never did that.
I'm aware of that.
The mayor didn't give
I said who it was by way of, so that you understand who it was by way of.
In other words, we know
If Councilman King and Councilman Wheeler had our way, that's not something
They voted for us.
So
we would have
it was
done.
all y'all.
Sure.
But I got something to say.
Sure.
But I really have to, let me finish these statements. Youngstown, their mayor made an intricate choice to go and petition the federal government, and I believe he got a conversation with the powers that be. And he said, well, the governor took this action, and he cut everybody across the board as if every city was equal. Like, we're not the same revenue base as Sola, Pepper Pike. Those cities with higher taxes and more businesses. So you have to take every scenario as a case-by-case basis. You can't treat East Cleveland like you treat Sola. You got to treat East Cleveland, or Cleveland Heights. You have to treat East Cleveland individually. And so this is what the argument that he presented to the president and his cabinet, those individuals that were there. And just like that, how much did they get back?
They got enough to build new bridges, and ain't hardly no people down there.
Yep. So he restored some of their money through a federal aid program.
Right.
And so this is what I'm saying to you guys. If you don't put the ask out there, it's very hard for somebody to give you something or believe in your cause. We can't expect Congresswoman Fudge to do all the bailing out. I mean, has her own agenda right now. You have to go to the next source. If your governor can't do it, you have to go to your federal government and get a conversation with the individuals that can restore that money. So that's another thing that needs to be done. We need to get our way to DC, and we need to make that request known. And and I'm at a point where I love East Cleveland so much, and if it does come out of my pocket to get there, that's just something I have to do. We're at a point where it's not about an individual, but it's about everybody that I represent. And so you have to do what's necessary. You have to do what the next man will not do. So that's where I am with that. And I hope that it's supported by you guys, and then hopefully it's supported by the majority of the city.
Mr. Baker, I also have a question.
Okay, can we hold the questions? And
You're making a lot of points, and so therefore we need to get certain things correct first before we move on to another point, and then we can ask a question.
Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, my intention is, my question is, you have spoken to a lot of avenue in which we can get federal response from our needs. I'm thinking that I don't know how you communicate with your ward. I know I've been living up there for a long time. I've never got a communication from you with respect to any needs that you might have. I've worked with the federal government on the Upward Bound Math and Science program. And so therefore, even if to give a pitch, I would know that that's something that you would want. I know that intelligent people are in your ward. And so therefore, we haven't had a task force where we can mesh our ideas and give you a better feedback as to what we can do.
That seems more or less, and I appreciate that. Seems more or less like I should put you in conversation with Judge Keenan in order to pull federal funding here for our students. That's something that I think you're very passionate about. Right now, I need emergency funding for city survival, city budget. And so that means that public service has to be funded. That means that we need to generate more money for our housing stock in order to do code enforcement. So that's where I am with that. But I am too an educator and do have a passionate position as it relates to the needs of our children. So, math and science and things like that, I'm with you on that. But I think that the more players we have in this fight, Judge Keenan and the school board, I think that these players need to step out front now and declare their position for what the city needs to do at this point. So I can respect that.
But building trust in Ward 4.
That's fine.
I'm saying we have to find a way where we can rebuild that trust. If you are the councilman for Ward 4, I wanted to see, or you to tell us, what are the different initiatives that you have created so that the people in Ward 4 can benefit.
We have to have money to create, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because we got a good, we understand now what the city is actually doing, but our little community, we don't know what is happening. And
Do you come to the council meeting?
I usually come to the council meeting until it starts to.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Oh yeah, I know, because I stopped coming because it was just nothing.
But see, the
It wasn't doing nothing.
Yeah, well, that's where a lot of the communication
and they
comes out
disrespect
too.
our people so much. So much. We
I'm
would
glad
know
you
the
got to
difference.
notice this time.
Oh, I do. I've been noticing
All right.
it. But sometimes you have to apply truth to certain power, because some people will not, some power will not change. But I'm saying if we continue to apply truth, then somebody needs to respond to us, and especially in Ward 4, where you have capable people. I'm saying we need some more
Well, I
communication.
solicit your support, Dr. Cassidy. We can get this information since he wants to be very involved. And we have a presentation coming from her, and I think we would benefit well from that. All right, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a question. It's not about annex, but, you guys sold that guy, that G, was it G, up there on Euclid
On Noble.
and no. For $130,000. He actually got $2 million from scrap. I know that he did.
I'm sorry,
And
can you repeat that? You said
he
something
left
about-
all that junk up there. It's a city dump.
She's speaking of,
It's gonna be rats and stuff
she-
running wild here.
she's,
The thing is higher than this building right now.
yeah, she's speaking of,
And you ain't doing nothing to make a
the
move.
project, that was at the old GE site. It's at Noble.
Find him every day.
It's off of Noble. It's, you know, behind where Big Boys used to be. The project was sold at $125,000. I was under the impression that there would be some development there or some type of gutting of the facility, and that there would be, and I'm sure they were probably too, that there would be some type of distribution center garnered out of that, the acquisition of that property. But I explained to my colleagues as well. I said, well, now that the property is dismantled, it's demoed at this point, I just asked the question, how much do you think you made off of it? And he said, I don't know. Didn't have an accurate number. I said, it's about $2 million, if not more. One beam was probably $60,000. So you got to think that there were multiple beams in there. This is that's a large building, and the after effects of the demo are still present. Mounds